solved, this equation has exactly one root, and we're asked to show that it lies between 0.5 and 0.6. So I'm going to let this thing be f of x. I always like to just call it something like that. I'm going to write it as sine -1. Fine if you want to leave it as arc sine. And we're going to seek a change of sign. Now, I felt like it really should say, but we are going to be working in radians here. Probably, I think you find if you work in degrees, you won't get that change of sign. Okay, so I get -1/4, which is going to be less than 0. And 0.848. So this is quite a fast varying function given that it's only gone up by 0.1 and it's changed quite dramatically. Okay, there is a sign change. It's always good to say this, I think. I'm not sure it's on the mark scheme, but f of x is continuous on the interval. As opposed to say 1 over x, which has a sign change, negative to positive, but it's not continuous on intervals, so it never crosses the x-axis. So the root lies between 0.5 and 0.6. Now the aim is to do fixed point iteration. Okay, we're not using Newton-Raphson or anything like that. It's not quoted. We're taking the equation and trying to rewrite it as an x equals equation. So that's basically what's asking us to do here. And therefore, all right, I can see that I've got an x squared in my answer. So I need to make this x here the subject of the equation. So first up, I'm going to do, sorry, this is part B. I'm going to do inverse sine of 2x minus 1 is going to equal, I'm going to add the x squared and divide by 6 all in one go. So x squared over 6. And that means 2x minus 1 is sine of, and I'll write it as 1 over 6x squared. I can now add 1. In fact, I'll just do it at the same time here. So finally x, well not quite finally, but x is going to be a half, because I'm going to divide that by 2, the 1, I'm going to swap them around, so plus a half sine 1/6 x squared. And then when we write down our iteration formula, which we use like a cobweb, it follows a cobweb diagram or staircase diagram kind of method going on. I'm not going to talk about that, or maybe I will a little bit, but we can just replace all of our x's on the right by xn and the one on the left by xn plus 1. And that gives us fixed point iteration to try and find this root. So P is going to equal a half, Q is going to equal a half, and R is going to equal 1 over 6. Hence, find the root correct to 4 significant figures. We've got our x naught, which we're told is 0.5, and then we're simply going to substitute this into the formula up here, get an answer, and put it back in, and so on until we get an answer correct for 4 significant figures. We're not asked to prove that it's true for 4 significant figures using a sign change rule or anything. Sometimes that's asked. So this is just checking that we can use the formula. Okay, I'm going to put 0.5 in as my initial answer. So that is used as the answer button. And then write down our iterative formula. But with xn replaced by answer, because that is my xn. There we go. So next one is 0.5208. Okay, I'm asked to write it to 4 significant figures ultimately, so let me write another one too. Actually, let me write a few more. X2, I could just press equals, get the next one. 52259. 7. It's not quite staying the same to 4 significant figures. Next one, only a small change now, 0.5227. I think there was a 5 after that. Actually, I only need to write it down to 5, I think, and then 0.52276. So it looks like it's going to stay. Just press it a few more times now. Yeah, it's staying as that 7, 6. It's going to be to 4 significant figures, 0.5228. Let me just finally talk very briefly about what actually just happened there. So we've got y and x-axis. Going to plot y equals x onto it, roughly. And then this might not be super accurate, but I'm going to try and plot a half plus a half sine 1 over 6 x squared. Not quite sure how that x squared is going to affect it, but I'm going to get something that looks a bit like a sine function, I think. I don't know, like it doesn't really matter. Let's just do it like that. And I'm trying to, so when I'm trying to solve, before I turn it into an iterative formula, I'm actually trying to find where y equals x intersect this. Y equals a half plus a half sine 1/6 x squared. So it's that point there, which we know is between 0.5 and 0.6. So we put our 0.5 in, and we find the value of the function, and then that becomes our new value of x, which means you're basically following it along to y equals x. See, because now that was our value of y, now it's got the same value of x here. And then we find a new value of the function, and then we basically just repeat and we spiral in with this cobweb diagram. Okay, this question doesn't ask about that, but I just wanted to mention it to explain what was actually going on to find this root. Okay, thanks for watching.